You know, when you first look at it, it's almost identical to the iPhone 16 last year. Pretty much the highest amount anyone is charging for a non-XL size device, and then $1,199 for the Pro Max.
iPhone 17 is now even more amazing.
Is the iPhone a scam? It's a bold question, but one worth asking. For years, Apple stood at the top of the tech world, the most valuable company on earth. But things have changed. In just a few years, they've fallen behind Microsoft, and now even Nvidia. Their market value shrank by over $1 trillion in just 4 months. And many people are starting to wonder, has Apple lost its way? Or worse, are they selling us the illusion of progress while quietly squeezing every penny they can from their customers? But to understand if Apple is really scamming us, we have to go back to the beginning. This story begins with Steve Jobs. When he returned to Apple in the late 90s, the company was weeks away from bankruptcy. Everyone had advice for him: cut the hardware division, become a software company, or shut down completely and give money back to shareholders. But Jobs had another idea. He slashed Apple's bloated portfolio down to just 4 products, betting everything on hardware. It was risky, but it worked. The iMac, iPod, iPhone, and iPad didn't just save Apple, they turned it into a global powerhouse. Jobs always said, focus on making great products, and the stock price will take care of itself. And for a long time, it did. But here's the hook. What happened when Jobs left would change Apple forever. In 2011, Steve Jobs stepped down. He left Apple in the hands of Tim Cook, a master of logistics and operations. Jobs told him, don't ask what Steve would do, just do what's right. The problem is, what's right depends on who you ask. Jobs thought great products were the key. Cook believed in something else, financial engineering, and that shift changed everything. Under Cook, Apple did something Jobs refused to ever do. They paid dividends and launched massive stock buybacks. Tens of billions were spent not on research or development, but on boosting stock price and pleasing shareholders. Investors loved it. Warren Buffett, once hesitant to touch tech companies, poured billions into Apple under Cook. To Wall Street. Apple looked unstoppable, but behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding, and what came next would shock even Apple's most loyal fans. For years, the price of an iPhone stayed the same. From the iPhone 4 to the iPhone 7, the flagship model was about $650. With inflation, that meant Apple's phones were actually getting cheaper while becoming thinner, faster, and more capable. Compare that to the iPod, which launched at $400 but eventually dropped to $250 while massively improving in design and storage. That was the old Apple. But after 2017, the strategy shifted. Suddenly, prices skyrocketed. The iPhone X shocked the world at $1,000. Then came the Pro Max at $1,200. Even Apple's so-called budget model, the iPhone SE, ballooned in price until the 16e, the supposed cheap iPhone, cost $600. And here's the twist: prices went up, but innovation slowed down. Today's iPhones look nearly identical to those from 2019. iPads, watches, AirPods, even accessories like the Magic Mouse haven't changed in a decade. A leaked internal memo made it clear Apple would focus only on features that were good enough to keep customers buying, but not so much that it cut into profit margins. In other words, innovation wasn't the priority anymore, profit was. But that's not all. The word Pro itself reveals the real trick.
When Apple adds Pro to a product, most people think it means professional, that it's built for creators, experts, or advanced users. But inside Apple, Pro has become shorthand for something else: premium, a label that justifies a higher price tag, even if the difference in capability is small. The iPhone Pro isn't necessarily built for professionals, it's built for profits, and customers are left paying more for the illusion of exclusivity. And just when you think Apple couldn't slip further, their biggest stumble came in the one area no company can afford to fall behind: artificial intelligence. In 2011, Siri was the first mainstream voice assistant. It was groundbreaking, but Apple never invested enough to keep pace. By 2017, Google Assistant and Alexa were far more accurate. Then ChatGPT arrived, showing what true conversational AI could do. Apple scrambled to catch up with its so-called Apple Intelligence. But instead of unveiling real technology, they showcased features that weren't ready, even delaying their most important upgrade, and improved Siri again and again. Insiders claim much of the demo was smoke and mirrors, designed to reassure shareholders, not customers. And here's the kicker: while engineers begged for more AI chips, Apple's finance team blocked the purchase. Their reasoning? Make the old ones more efficient. Meanwhile, that same year, Apple spent over $70 billion on stock buybacks. The message was clear. To them, Wall Street came first, customers came second. But the irony doesn't stop there. In markets like Iran, Ponzi-style schemes exploited Apple's brand. Fraudsters promised discount iPhones that never existed, tricking thousands of customers. Entire scams thrived off Apple's reputation. And isn't that symbolic? The iPhone itself has become a kind of luxury illusion. Customers believing they're buying into innovation when really they're buying into branding. Think about it. Apple was once known for releasing revolutionary products every few years. The iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad.
Each changed industries, each defined a generation. But in the last 6 years, what have we seen? Incremental updates, higher prices, and one new product, the Vision Pro, that stumbled out of the gate. Instead of leading, Apple is following. Instead of inventing, they're repackaging. And instead of prioritizing customers, they're prioritizing shareholders. And the most chilling part, Apple doesn't even deny it. Tim Cook argues Apple has rarely been first, reminding people there were PCs before the Mac, phones before the iPhone, and MP3 players before the iPod. His point is that Apple didn't need to be first. They just needed to make the best version. But the truth is, Apple was the first to modernize those industries. With AI, they had that chance with Siri. They blew it. Now they're years behind. So is the iPhone a scam? Maybe not in the traditional sense. It's still a solid product, polished and reliable, but the real scam may be in the messaging. The promise that Pro means professional when it really means profit. The promise that Apple is leading the future when they're struggling to keep up. The promise that you're paying for innovation when you might just be paying for a name. Apple's market cap grew from $350 billion under Steve Jobs to over $3 trillion under Tim Cook. On paper, that looks like success. But ask yourself, is success measured by stock buybacks or by groundbreaking products? Is the iPhone Pro really for professionals, or is it simply for profit? That's the question every customer has to answer.
You can trade in right from your phone. We can help you figure out the best option, whether you're financing or trading in your old device for credit towards a new one. You can get peace of mind when you add an AppleCare plan.